a story briefly about my life. And on November the 20th, 2008, I was beginning a perfectly normal routine. My wife and I pray every morning God's blessings and God's blessings upon this community. Nothing was wrong. It was a beautiful day. Went to work, and about 4 o'clock I decided to go home a little early. And from there, as I was driving home, I was beginning to feel something that was different in my body. I knew something that was going on negative. I went home, and I spent about 2 hours at home sharing with my wife this dilemma, not knowing what was happening. And all of a sudden, I began to hemorrhage profusely. I thought maybe it would just go away, but it did not. 2 hours passed, and really, it was very serious. Finally, we called an ambulance. The ambulance came, picked us up, took us to one of the local hospitals. The local hospitals began to evaluate my condition, circumstance, and they told me that I was losing so much blood that I could easily die. And from there, they administered units of blood into my system. Up until that time, I had never had blood. You would always hear the blood drives and encourage people to give, but it was never of really significance. And isn't that interesting? It never becomes significant until it knocks on your door. And the people were great, and the doctors were great, and they gave me units of blood, and finally my blood came up to normal, and within a few days they dismissed me. They found out what the problem was. I thank God for all of these things, the professional community within Tyler, but more than anything else, I thank you for those Good Samaritans. They're out there. The people that gave me the blood. And I will never have the privilege of meeting them because they're no name, just like the Bible mentions a man who traveled down a road one day and he found someone by the roadside hurting and dying, and he picked him up and he served him. I am grateful. I'll never be able to thank the person. But the doctor came in a day later and he said, "You were dying." And had it not been for blood, the donation of blood by someone I will never meet or be able to send a letter to, they saved my life. So what I did immediately was go to my church and explain the situation, and I encouraged them. I said, "Folks, are you aware that 1 out of every 3 people that are in this body of believers today, one of us will experience or have a need for blood?" From that moment in time, I have been committed not only to fill the banks, both banks, but also especially to work in this communication with you folks. I'm honored. And I call the pastors and I encourage them. And I challenge everyone within this community, because someday, when the sun shines brightly on the morning that you leave your home, very well, at the close of the day, you could have experienced the similar problem that I experienced. So thank you for this opportunity to share with you, and thank you for being here today. Let's get the message across. There is a dire need. This is the lowest time for both banks. We need to help them and minister to them as the Good Samaritans do, through love. Thank you so much.
Before we close, there are so many people that we really need to thank for putting this whole thing together.